We're now live with IsoNation. We've got Andy Patrick with us today. I'm just going to let a few people come on, and I'm going to be looking down as I'm letting people come on as well, because I'm going to be sharing off my own device too. Andy is joining us from Ometis today. While I start sharing down here, do you want to give us a bit of background on who Ometis are and yourself, please, Andy?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm Andy Patrick. I'm the recently appointed Managing Director of Ometis, and Ometis are a data integration, data analytics consultancy. We focus on a particular vendor, a particular piece of software, but we help people understand and make better decisions with their data by bringing it to life in dashboards and storyboards.
Interestingly, you're recently appointed MD. When did you become
MD? Officially appointed MD of Ometis on the 1st of April, just coinciding with the global pandemic. So interesting times, Christian.
Yeah, sure. That's a bit of a hospital pass, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, yeah. The environment, certainly. But so tell us a bit more about Ometis, because you've been around for 2012.
2013, yeah. So started in 2013, really, and we were a consultancy, so delivering consulting services to organisations that use our software to help them understand their data better. A couple of years after that, we decided to sell the software as well, and we've just grown from strength to strength over the last 7 years. We're now just under 100 customers, where we get involved in project management, consultancy, development, training, data literacy, just helping them out with their data needs. The previous MD and owner, Ross Gregg, decided to step back, or take a little bit of a backward step from the operational running of the business at the start of this year. Our financial year runs from April through to the end of March, so I kicked in on the 1st of April as the new MD, and yeah, it was kind of awkward because I haven't been back into the office since. So telling everybody there's a new MD, this is how everything's going to be, and other than breaking some desks down and throwing them in a skip, I haven't actually been back into the office, but I'm sure we'll come on to that in a bit.
Yeah, we're definitely going to come on to that. I have so many questions around that. So, it's good to see some planning in all this. I mean, obviously it was a planned process, because it's something that was immediate. It wasn't like Ross went 2019, you go Andy. It was something that had very much been in the planning.
Yeah, we won't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Hospital pass, but no, there was planning involved. He definitely had a plan before the start of this year to step backwards. So yeah, there was a lot of handover in the first couple of months, and then obviously it all just kicked in. It was like perfect storm of just taking over on the 1st of April. So
what's that been like? Because obviously we always start these questions with that oh my god moment. Oh, there is quite a little there at the moment, but I think we're okay. I'm going to ask you that, but I'm also going to ask before that, what was that like? Oh, Andy, we might have to put. Can we put your headphones on? Yeah. Is that okay? That possible? Thank you.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, there we go. We're winning. So, what was it like telling the team? I mean, did anybody know before the 1st of April, or was it just a digital environment that you shared with people? And then I have other questions that comes from that. But
yeah, sure. So we're about 20 people, so quite a small team. We focus on one particular piece of software, so it suits us well. And there are 4 members of the senior leadership team now. So there's myself as MD, Alex Walker as operations director, Chris Lofthouse as head of professional services, and Caroline Wood, who is head of finance. And they were involved and understood what was happening, because obviously we had to pass over certain responsibilities from Ross, and we all took on a bit more responsibility. But other than that, no one else in the business knew until we did a bit of an announcement session on probably the 2nd of April or first working day of April. So all of that was just done on a remote meeting, which was a bit of a surreal scenario, letting everybody know, look, there's a new leadership team in place. Here's your new MD that's going to be steering you through the next 3 months of mayhem or whatever it might be with coronavirus. But I have to say, everybody took it really well, understood the reasons for Ross wanting to step back, and have been really supportive with the new leadership team and what we're trying to do over these crazy months. So yeah, it was all done remote.
And what's that been like for you? Because obviously we've got two things here. We've got your vision for the company and for the organization and how you want things to work under your leadership. And then we've got the pandemic that's forced lockdown, which has forced people into a very, a certain way of leading right now. Have those aligned, or have you had to evolve what you wanted to put into play?
Yeah, I suppose it's shifting. Some things get pushed out that you would have liked to have done, and then some things get accelerated because you've been forced into a particular situation. So our hands are tied with not being able to meet face to face. So you make the best of the remote meetings. You make the best of, working from home. It's great because I haven't got the commute, but it's disappointing because I don't get to go and see the people face to face that I want to work with and, steer in the right direction. So there are pros and cons, most definitely, to working from home. But I think, as far as the vision is concerned, I think it's accelerated some of the things that we were planning on doing. So I mentioned earlier about the analytics side to our business. That's what we've been doing for the last 7 years. But there's more to data for us than just an analytics. There's about getting it ready, preparing it, moving it about, getting it business ready until you need to analyze it. And we're very much accelerating that part of our business at the moment and helping companies do what we call data integration. So it's really from, gimmicky, from raw to ready, but it helps us accelerate that part of our business and that strategy that we've got in place at the moment.
And we'll come back onto data and your process and the sort of things that you've been implementing in a moment. But just to come back, because you've actually made quite a drastic decision. Well, not drastic, but drastic, but not necessarily reactive. A reactive decision. It's something that's been discussed around Ometis for a while. But you've actually ended the lease on your office, haven't you? Since becoming
yes. We have, yeah, indeed. And, it was a decision that we made with the leadership team. I think it came about really, and it's accelerated because of coronavirus. Our hands are tied. We haven't been in the office for 3 months, and we've had meetings, plenty of management meetings, plenty of leadership team meetings, and it's, well, what are we missing about the office? We're operating. We made the decision last week of March, or whenever it was, the 23rd of March, that everybody works from home as of the Monday. Job done. No arguments. And on that Monday morning, everything was seamless. We'd got all of the technology in place, all of the infrastructure in place. Everybody had worked from home before, for a day a week or the odd day at home, or some people were home workers. So having that in place just meant we were up and running on the Monday, and it was, I won't say business as usual, but we could operate. So it was great. So during our meetings, we were saying, look, what is it that we're missing about the office? And it's the social element. That's what we miss. Just being able to brainstorm, interact with each other, have those water cooler moments when you just discuss something or you find something out, whether it's, a bit of banter, a bit of fun, or whether it's, to do with work, a bit of technology. So we've got to find ways to allow that to happen. But other than that, what we think has happened is that we've been able to give employees flexibility on their working hours. Again, some of that's had to because of childcare needs and so on, but we wanted to make sure that if they need to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and do some work because their kids are up, that's great, and then they can have a couple of hours off in the middle of the day or at the end of the day and just suit them. As long as we're keeping our clients happy and informed about what we're doing, and when people are working on client work, they coordinate and communicate with them. We want to give them as much flexibility as possible. So yeah, we came to the decision that actually we probably wouldn't be back in the office the rest of this year anyway, with social distancing in place, with the measures that are being set out. I think office workers are going to be the people that can work from home are going to be a low priority in getting back into the office. And therefore, if we're going to have 9 months out of the office this year, then there's probably nothing stopping us having 12 months out of the office next year, and putting into place things like social meetings when we can meet up together. Let's go and hire a room somewhere and let's all share our findings. Let's collaborate. Let's turn it into a bit of a social, and we'll make sure that everybody meets up on those days rather than just having 6 or 7 out of the 20 people in the office on sporadic days throughout the year. So yeah, I think it was a logical conclusion that we came to, but there's no doubt that coronavirus accelerated that. So yeah, we hand the keys back on the 25th of June after we've done all the redecorating and getting new carpet down and leaving it in a nice condition. But yeah, it served us well. The landlords have been really good. We've been there for over 5 years now, and we'll be sad to see it go from a social aspect, but there's going to be so many positives that come from that as well. And it's just accelerated some of the things that we were doing about moving servers to the cloud and things like that as well.
It's interesting you say about the social element there, because I love the way that you say we'll come together, we'll get a meeting room, we'll all come together, it will be more of a sharing of ideas, and it will end with a bit of a social. That people will come to that, they'll be motivated, they'll be energized, they're ready to give part, rather than you having lots of little bite-sized chunks throughout the week because you're in the office environment. I know your office. I've been to your office. You've got your air hockey table, your dartboards. How have you evolved that bit? How have you evolved that sort of sharing of ideas while you're chilling like that?
Yeah, and again, I think it's always looking for ways to improve that. But we do 3 hangout sessions a week. So we do a hangout session on a Monday afternoon, one first thing on a Wednesday morning, and then probably one straight after this, about 11 o'clock on a Friday, where they're not mandatory. People haven't got to come in. We use Teams, but people can jump on and have a bit of a chat. So Monday's a little bit about, what did you do different this weekend? Well, absolutely nothing. I was in the house again. The weather was great. I sunbathed. The weather was bad. We didn't do anything. I watched Netflix. It's that kind of chat. We try and keep it away from, work related. We would just want people to talk about, what's going on. Wednesday morning's a little bit different, where, different people will jump on because of their working hours and flexibility and have that chat. And then on a Friday, we try and do a quiz or some competition or something just to keep employees engaged. So kind of whoever loses the quiz that week has to organize a quiz or some activity for the following Friday. So there's a bit of competitive edge there. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And I would say the Friday meeting keeps people more engaged than the Monday and Wednesday, but it's just offering up enough without making employees feel compelled to have to join it to show that they're working. We understand that remote workers have got a really good discipline in being able to get their work done anyway. So we trust our employees. We want to give them as much flexibility as we can, but we also want to offer up that kind of, we haven't got to throw the darts about now to have that chat. We can just jump on a Teams meeting. And I think all of the leadership team and all of the employees are like this. If you just want to jump on a chat with someone, you just give them a quick call on Teams now. And there's possibly more interaction than there was when we were in the office. So quite often you'd be in the office and there are 6, 7 people in, but now I've got a list of the 20 people on Teams, and if I just want to, pick up a quick chat with someone, give them a call, how's everything going? Have you got 5 minutes just to chew over the fat? And it's working as well as it can. And I think we've got to constantly watch it to make sure that we improve on that, and we've got to care about the well-being of our employees, because isolation is a real thing, and especially if you're at home with children and your partner, or you haven't got a partner, your partner's out at work, or whatever it might be, everybody's circumstance is slightly different. We've just got to be open to understanding how we can help our employees manage and deal with that in the best way that they can.
And remain dynamic, because that's exactly it. You haven't done this before, so you've got to just see what works, see what's not working, and so long as the mindset can be constantly refining for a more efficient, better working environment, then you're on the right path, aren't you? And have you found people approaching you has changed at all? Because obviously in that office environment, somebody getting up, walking to your desk, everybody clocks it, you're the boss. What's that conversation about? I know it's not like that at Ometis, but have you found it? Have you found that at all, that people have been able to reach out to you a bit more, because it's literally just you're on a list now and it's making a 2-minute video call for a quick question?
And I hope so. And it's a really difficult one to judge, because as we were saying, I took over on the 1st of April. And I don't know what that dynamic would have looked like if we were in the office. So it's the two have happened together. But what I would say is that we use Slack for our internal communication, so we've still got plenty of chat going on Slack. There's so many different channels that I'm on, and so many different individual conversations or group conversations that are work and non-work related. So that hasn't changed or slowed down or stopped at all by me taking over as MD, which I'm glad about. Are people confident enough to pick up the, jump on a video call and have a chat? Certainly the sales team. So as you know, Christian, I ran the sales team and still do before I took over as MD. So I have constant communication with those guys and pre-sales guys. But it's just making sure that, I've got time to talk to support and to the services team and everybody else, all of the time as well, which hopefully they're confident enough to approach when needed.
I've got to jump on some comments just quickly. Sorry, because
no problem.
Hello. So Beth says hello. Congratulations, Andy. Gemma says hello. Good morning, Gemma. Hi, Andy. Huge congratulations, Andy, from Rachel. Hi, everyone, says Linda. Nifty needs a dartboard, says Beth. Thanks, Beth. Love that big change in the office. How awesome. Leading the way on flexible remote working. There you go. And hello, Dave. So just to move on quickly now to what you actually do, and you've got some great stories in terms of your service provision during this time. Tell us that standout one, that standout, lovely, warm story.
Yeah, sure. So I think you're referring to Penlon Medical devices.
Yes.
Sure. So we were talking to Penlon before coronavirus, and they were interested in working with us using the software that we provide in order to get better insights into their data.
And Penlon, just to say, Penlon produce things for the NHS essentially.
Yeah, so respirators, ventilators for the NHS. And to give you an idea, they probably produce maybe 100 a year. So, it's not massive scale. It's kind of make to order specific bedside respirators and ventilators. And as the, coronavirus crisis kicked in, they were approached to be part of a consortium of manufacturers to produce 15,000 ventilators. So there was like the Dyson conversation going on at the time. So I know that Dyson were trying to produce these ventilators, but essentially Penlon, along with the other companies in their consortium, won the contract from the government. So this is organisations like McLaren and Airbus and Ford and GKN and other large lean manufacturers, along with Smiths Medical and Penlon Medical Devices. So they're using the expertise of Penlon Medical Devices in order to get these ventilators manufactured, but they're using the kind of lean manufacturing processes that McLaren have in order to streamline it and get the volume and bandwidth through of those ventilators. So they want a contract to produce 15,000, which is very different to producing 100 per year.
Sure.
So we were in conversations with them before, and the guy there is a guy called Tony Serratori. He's their IT manager, and he was saying, look, we need to get Qlik Sense up and running so that we can have dashboards on the shop floor showing the progress of the supply chain and the assembly and manufacturing process right through to delivery, you know, testing and delivery out the door, because they moved from, you know, 9 to 5 work into 3 shifts covering 24 hours a day. So they are open constantly. They've got sub-assemblies happening outside, being brought together, assembled at Penlon with all the testing and all of the verification and authorization through their, you know, expertise. And they wanted to keep their workforce motivated. So every ventilator that gets manufactured, they want to turn that into X number of lives saved. So they approached us and we said, well, look, we were talking to you anyway. I'll have a word with Qlik. Qlik brilliantly said, give them the software free of charge. This is, you know, we'll give them the software free of charge while they're doing this stuff. We decided as well that we wanted to put some time and effort into this. So we gave them a whole, you know, raft of free services in order for us to connect to their data. That they had a lot going on, you know, how much focus they could put on this. They know they wanted to do it, but, you know, Tony was juggling a lot of things there. So our guys stepped in, said, show us where the data is, give us a rough idea of what you want, and let us produce some dashboards for you. And that's essentially what we've done, is being able to get a whole load of large screens out on their shop floor with our dashboards being updated on a regular basis, going through different screens to show them the whole assembly and manufacturing process right through to testing out the door. And every time they do that, that's another life saved. And I think it's been a really good thing for them. You know, speaking to Tony, I was only on with him earlier on this week. They want to do more and more analysis on the data now. They want to really get deeper about what's going on in the sub-assembly process. They want to push the analysis that they've got out onto GKN shop floor as well, because they're doing some of the sub-assemblies for them. So they want to be able to separate what's been done at GKN, what's been done at Penlon, to really drive that process and get those 15,000 ventilators, you know, manufactured and sorted. So yeah, I think it's been a great news story there, where you know, not everything is shiny and light and brilliant in the lockdown at all. Lots of people are struggling, but where we could help out, we wanted to step in and do the right thing with that organization, and Qlik have supported us and been brilliant with that, and Penlon have been great, and now we're doing more and more work for them now, so it's really good.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and I'm great for Penlon as well in a diagnostic sense, because they've got you know, they've gone from 9 to 5 to 24 hours, and all of that wealth of data they now have that would have been is that 3 years worth of data maybe that they would have taken them. That they've tripled their input in terms of data.
Well, yeah, and it's more than that, it's accelerated. So they said if they had been given this contract of 15,000 ventilators, that would have taken them 10, 11, 12 years to actually make those 15,000 ventilators running at their current capacity. They've not done the full 15,000 yet. They're over 5,000. They might be over 6,000, 7,000 now. I haven't got the accurate numbers, but they're certainly over 5. But yeah, to scale up from what they were doing, which was, you know, maybe 2 a week, to get to where they've been over 3 weeks to produce, you know, over 5,000 ventilators. Yeah, there's a phenomenal amount of data going into that now that, you know, there's an immediate need to track it at a very high level, but then there's going to be an ongoing need to understand how they can make that process slicker and leaner and benefit from what the data is telling them. So yeah, the data's exploded for them. It's just, yeah, it's gone crazy.
And what's that been like for your clients on the whole during lockdown? Have they needed that? Have they seen what they obviously already understand the importance of their business data, otherwise they wouldn't be working with you in the first place. But have they seen those refinements, and have you seen any more people come on board or start asking the questions around how they can unlock the power of their data during this time?
Yeah, so there's been a mix, as you can imagine. We deal with all different types. So working in financial services, a lot of people where we've got consultants out on site, we've been asked to work remotely now. And a lot of our clients have kept that work going because they understand the importance more than ever now of really analysing their data and seeing where they can, grow their business or make cost savings and all those types of things. But some of those financial organisations as well, really had a hard time with working remotely from home because it's secure data. They'd got call centres, they'd got thousands of people in large offices in London, and then to all of a sudden say, let's get these 2,000 people working remotely from home. Did they have enough laptops? Did they have the secure VPNs in place? Yeah. So we were working on a particular client that, we didn't take a laptop home, and we've just struggled to carry on working with that client because we've got to be on the right infrastructure. So there's lessons to be learned from what we found out, no doubt. But other organizations, so we deal with hospitality as well, which hospitality industry has taken a massive hit. So a chain of hotels we were working with to help them understand their data better. It's been a really refreshing attitude that they've taken, saying, look, we've got loads of people on furlough, our hotels are all shut, so we can't trade and do business, but we're not shutting down the project to analyze our data. We're keeping that ticking over. We can't make a full commitment right now because we don't know where we're going to be, but we know when we get back up and running, there's going to be a real need to analyze that data closer than ever, to really understand it, to discover those hidden elements that are going to tell you about the growth opportunities, the cost savings, the correlations, the causations, all of that. So they've not binned that project. It's there in the background saying, as soon as we get up and running, as soon as the government allow us to have people in, and I'm not going to get political on this call, but it's essentially as soon as we're allowed to do things and the situation permits, then we really want to dig deep into our data and understand what's going on historically and where we can plan for the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, I won't give my opinion now. Just tell me about the importance of data literacy in your mind coming out of this, and why. Just because obviously we know ourselves the importance of understanding the data, but just for the people out there who might almost consider their data not even an asset, just why is data literacy going to be so important?
Yeah, I think it really is, because data literacy in itself, what does that mean? So there's a definition that you can give about arguing with data and so on. But essentially, data literacy is each individual being able to understand and take away what the data is actually telling them, but also to challenge that data as well. So not every bit of data that you see is perfect. It's a brilliant example at the moment using it, where we see a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of graphs on screen with all of the daily reviews that we get from the government, the daily sessions that tell you the 7-day average is going down. So we're inundated with data in the news at the moment, and I think it's really important to have data literacy, to look beyond what is just being told to you on the surface. So because it's empowerment. Then align that with your company data, you can look a bit deeper and see exactly what's going on. But that whole piece about the number of deaths or cases per day, and I'm not trivializing what's going on at all, but talking at it from a data perspective, you can see the peaks and troughs, and you can see at the weekends that there's not so much reporting and so on. But they had to add this 7-day average, because that people didn't necessarily be able to take that information away without, you know, adding to it. So that's kind of data literacy. How can we make sure that we're showing the data in the right way for people to take the right information away from it, so that we can see that, yeah, people are dying and that is absolutely terrible, but on a 7-day rolling average, things are starting to get better. It's just one small element and one small sort of example of where data literacy is important. Align that back to your business. You're going to want to understand what impact coronavirus has had on order taking, on, you know, resource availability, on cost base from people being furloughed, and understand how that's going to play out over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months and beyond, and make decisions based upon that. So that for me is, you know, everything that's going on at the moment, and all of our customers that we work with, some of them have brought forward projects that they had in the background because, yeah, they're not necessarily doing the same day-to-day work because of how things have happened, but they really understand they want to be in a great position to analyze that data as soon as things start getting back to some kind of normality.
I mean, that's a lovely way of describing data literacy as well, though, just having those points of reference that make it relevant to our understanding. You know, it's not about being able to read data, it's about making the data work for you. I often think of it as you know, you think about that term, you can't see the wood for the trees. But you can see the wood, you can see all the forest if you want to, or you could go and look at that one tree and literally understand its roots, its very structure, and then come back out and see the whole forest again. That's what Qlik allows you to do. That's what your services allow you to do.
Yeah, whereas, and you've got to recognize that there's all different types of people in an organization as well. There's people that are more confident with understanding data, and then you've got management that might want to see it at a different level, and you've got your, you know, data scientists and analysts that will really, you know, be able to pick out information really quickly. But everybody can improve their data literacy at whatever level they're at to get what they need from it, which is exactly what you've said there, Christian. It's just making sure that you've got the right information in place, the right way to absorb and understand that data, and for it to lead you on to asking the next question. We want people to be inquisitive about the data, say, well, if that's happening now, what if? What if we just focused on that product set? What if we reduced or increased the work that we were doing in this area? What's going to happen? So it's that next question that's really important.
And where are we in the data sector now? How many businesses have adopted you know, what we used to term business intelligence, but have now adopted data solutions so they can achieve that data literacy piece? Where are we? We sort of 50% of the, I don't know, you know, what are we looking at?
I think it depends how you define that business intelligence piece that you've talked about. So I think a lot of organizations are still using something like Excel to perform their, you know, reporting and analytics. And while Excel is great, it's not going to give you that deep dive analytical experience that a dedicated business intelligence tool will do. So we're probably over 50% of organizations have implemented BI. I'd say, you know, 50% of them have done it more than once as well. So they've gone through their first generation of business intelligence, and then they're getting into an understanding about how centralized doesn't always work, and we need to push out self-service. Then you've got those companies that have, you know, implemented Excel and Tableau and Qlik and Looker and all different things for different parts of their department, and then they've realized that, well, actually we could do with a single coherent view. So you've now got these organizations that need a mix of a centralized deployment while still allowing people to self-serve. So it's what we term third generation BI, and that's where we are at the moment. That's what we're trying to implement for our customers, is giving them the governance, the security, the controls that they need from a centralized perspective, but also allowing department heads or empowered employees to do the self-serve that they need to ask those further questions. So it's a really exciting time in the industry at the moment with the technology that's coming down the line, and the technology that's here at the moment. But yeah, I would say not every company has adopted it, and it's a real shame because the price point for small companies to adopt something like QlikSense is right on. There's a very low barrier to entry for even small organizations just to analyze the data that they have and to get a real understanding about why we call data an asset.
And that's because we're not even really we're not just talking about us understanding the data, are we? I mean, if we're in Excel, we're talking about how we're manipulating that data, or sorry, I'm from the media world, I say manipulation, how we're viewing that data. But actually in Qlik, you've got the functionality where Qlik's got a powerful associative engine that's telling you what you should be looking at. You might even not even be aware of what you should be considering.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to, we talk about data literacy. We've got a piece of software here that prompts you to be better. It helps you and assists you in saying, did you know? So from the selections that you have in your data, it's showing you this, but did you know that you're not selling this at the same time? You're not carrying this out at the same time. These values are excluded when you make this particular criteria. Can you understand why there's no correlation? So it prompts you to be more inquisitive about your data, ask that next question, rather than leaving all of that to the authors and developers of applications that have to, think about the mindset of the 200 employees that they're trying to give analytics to. That's a lot to ask of an individual or a centralized team, whereas we've got software now through its through its artificial intelligence that allows that to happen.
Just to talk about, because I've just seen the time, and because it's such an interesting discussion.
Yeah, and I talk way too much, don't I?
I want to just keep asking questions as well. So round that up though, this is going to be a good, you said it's a good time in terms of the technology and things as well, because we're constantly seeing these groundbreaking pieces or features and functionality coming to play. But what does it mean for your industry now? We know that people are going to have to drive efficiencies. We know that we are going to have to, it's all about bottom line coming out of this now, whether it's cost cutting, whether it's, what are your predictions? Where do you see your industry going in the next 12 to 24 months? And then as a whole as well?
Yeah, so I think the industry as a whole, there's scary numbers that get thrown about the amount of data that gets created on a daily and hourly basis. So the amount of data that's going to be around for companies like us to analyze is only going to grow. It's scary, some of the numbers. I think I saw a 173 trillion gigabyte quotation the other day, which is something like the population of the UK, if they downloaded 25 megs per second, it would take over 8 years for all of the data to get downloaded. It's just crazy numbers that go around. So from that perspective, there is always going to be a need to continue to get better at analyzing data for every company. Alongside that, my fear, I guess, is that you hear the news, you hear what's going on with 2,000 job cuts here, 5,000 job cuts there, and so on, is that companies need to make the sensible decisions about where they're investing and where they're cutting expenditure. So I'm biased completely. I sell technology, we sell consulting services around analyzing data. But I firmly believe in order for companies to make the right decisions about where to invest, where to cut costs, where to make the savings that they need to, they have to have the right information to inform that decision. So I would urge people not to make their cost savings on data, certainly not if they're buying it from us. But you get the gist that there's going to be more importance there, but there's going to be that balancing act between, you know, encouraging an organization to make that investment when they'll be battening down the hatches. And I think that's going to be different across different industries. We're in a fortunate situation where we didn't go into a niche market of only looking after retail, of only looking after hospitality. You know, we've got holiday companies, we've got construction companies, we've got financial services, we've got hospitality, retail, manufacturing, you know, across the board. And it helps us balance those peaks and troughs that those industries are going to be going through. But I think, yeah, there's absolute optimism there. I'm that kind of guy, you know, we see that happening, but there's also a realism to understand that not every industry is going to push ahead in exactly the way that they thought they were going to pre-coronavirus. But the takeaway for me is that have the data in a format that you can understand to make the right decisions for yourselves going forward.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Andy. I've got one more, which is a prediction for the future, which is evolving hugely every time I ask it, because we've been asking it since, you know, lockdown. But where do you think stability lies, or where do you think the confidence that stability is en route is gonna be? Do you think we're looking at, in terms of a time span, do you think we're looking at, you know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we've got to get used to the fact there's going to be a new norm. And I think the decisions that we've made as an organization highlight that exactly. So our new norm will be working from home. So I've gone from having a 3-hour commute, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back. I did lots of meetings down in London, across the country, but, you know, I was always on a train, always in my car, going to see people, you know, selling the software, talking to them about why they should come and, you know, sign up with Ometis. So my new norm is going to be calls like this, getting used to the headphones on my shiny head, not slipping off too often, but doing that, you know, constantly throughout the day. So I think we've got to get used to a new norm. But we shut an office down. You know, I took over on the 1st of April. We're only on the 12th of June, and we have done plenty of remote meetings. We have geared everybody up to work from home, and we have decided to, you know, stop the lease on our premises that we were occupying for 5 years. So things are happening really quickly. I'm no expert with, you know, the political decisions that are being made, but I do see that already now, with some of the customers that we're talking to, they had a spending freeze up until July, and we're having conversations now about, you know, how they're releasing that spending freeze and how we can help them out with either our consulting services, or they're buying additional functionality to the software that they've already got. You know, that case in point is the hotel company that we're working with are looking to invest in an area that they know is important to them as soon as they possibly can. So I said before, I think that office space will be mainly closed for the rest of this year. I just think that there'll be a point in time where schools going back in September will be a crunch time to see. If that happens, then we'll be in a situation where social distancing has been relaxed somewhat, because to get every school kid back in September, there can't be the 2-meter rule, I'm guessing. So if that does happen and you get the majority of school kids back in September and you don't get a massive second peak, then I can start to see in the early part of next year a normality. But my prediction, rightly or wrongly, will be the rest of this year will certainly be mostly remotely working for office workers, and we'll start to see the reintroduction of, you know, manufacturing operations and hospitality creeping back at all different levels. Some will be able to do it easier than others just because of the circumstance that they're in. Some companies will just struggle because, you know, nightclubs, how do you get, you know, thousands of people packed in onto a dance floor? That's going to be really tricky. So yeah, the earliest I can see any type of normality is probably early next year.
I think
Scary thought, isn't it?
It is a scary thought, but I don't disagree. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of factors that will evolve slightly, and we'll see little bits here might be beyond our predictions, a little bit here might be below as the months unfold. But I keep saying, and it's actually a conversation I had with Sean, who you know, at Qlik.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guys that are watching don't know, you know, but we know Sean. If Microsoft and Google have all cancelled their events, and I think we discussed it as well, have all cancelled their events to the middle of next year, that's going to set a standard anyway. That's going to set a standard, regardless of what happens in terms of business or in terms of individual governments, or when we go back to offices and things like that. We have set a bit of a standard in that, even if it's only in the business development world, you know, we've set a standard of where we're saying it's pretty much on hold now until halfway through next year. Anything until halfway through next year has to be done differently if you want to do what you would have done before. And I think that is just the way it is. It's set that standard.
But I think sporting events highlight it as well. So, you know, I'm quite interested in some of my sports that I do, and there will be no kind of non-professional mass participation sports happening this year. You know, I've seen, you know, marathons and running races and triathlons cancelled up to October, November already, and they're slow in getting cancelled because obviously, you know, people have got to consider insurance and get the right things in place. But I can't see how mass participation events that are not professional happen this year. So you're right in what you're saying. It's, you know, I've seen an event, a Christmas festival in Birmingham cancelled. We're on the 12th of June because things take so long to plan. You're not going to invest, and you know, the events that we're doing have all jumped to online. So we go to the Belfry every year to go and tell people about what's going on with Qlik, and it's a really great day, and you come along and film us, and you know, it's usually sunny and people really enjoy that. That's all online this year. Qlik's main event online, Microsoft, Google, you know, next year online. So yeah, one thing that I would say though is that industries, businesses are really going to have to innovate. So you see in the, you know, every restaurant around me is now doing takeaway, and it's only a small chain. So they used to have people in, now they've got to sort of set up takeaways and social distancing takeaways and so on. But local pub chains and things like that, a lot. I've seen queues of people queuing up for homemade pizzas and beers from their local pub. And as long as I think it's really important to support local businesses as well, you know, because that's going to help get the economy back up and running. But we're going to see, through it being forced upon people, innovation. We're going to see new businesses and new jobs created out of this coronavirus. You know, it will happen over the next course of, you know, 3-6 months and so, but there will be new businesses that thrive and crop up because of the, you know, the tragedy that's happened. So hopefully some good can come of it.
And I think, you know, that comes back to the guys that are still running their data programs, even though they've furloughed a lot of staff and they aren't collecting data right now. They still want to, people are in this position now where they either want to come out stronger and they're utilizing the time to make sure we come out the other side stronger, or if they've been in a position where they've just seen, you know, their income fall off a cliff because they're in hospitality or whatever, we've seen massive innovation. And it's brilliant because the new norm that everybody keeps saying, this term, the new norm, and nobody knows what it is yet, it's going to be driven by those independent business owners. And I was really worried at the start to think we're going to see, you know, so much just fall away, so much businesses fall away, so many, they just wouldn't be able to survive it. But I've been so motivated by the innovation that we've seen, and it actually makes you really proud to see so much innovation. People just won't give up. They're going to find ways of making it work. And that's going to continue, and it'll be those guys that define that new norm. You know, do you go out for a beer now, or, you know, if you're a craft beer fan, for instance, you get it delivered to your house with your mates and you have it there rather than sitting in a craft beer pub. You know, you might It might be
Exactly.
something like that, and that will be a new norm that's defined by the service providers. It's what.
Yeah, well, it's the drive-in cinema, isn't it? So people haven't been able to go to the cinema, so all of a sudden we've got those cropping up. It's being forced upon us, but it's.
Have you ever seen a drive-in cinema in this country? Is there one? I've never seen one. Do you know of any at all?
No, but there is. I think they're doing a temporary one in Birmingham. There might be one over in Telford that they're doing. So yeah,
It wasn't just because he. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. But there is actually
exactly
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was only catching it when he was talking. I was like, drive-in cinema. But yeah, that's exactly it. Those service providers are going to set the new norm, and we are going to lose some. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. But there will be innovation as well, and every cloud does have a silver lining. It's just it's going to be a big cloud this time.
Yeah, and I think you're right that you can't take away from those people that are going to be hit hard from this. But yeah, where you can, you've got to try and stay positive and take the positives. I'll hear the bad stories about people losing their jobs and have the sympathy and so on, and it's terrible. But as a business, someone who runs a business owners, you've got to try. You've got to take the positives where you can, and you've got to move with what's happening. We moved all of our training to classroom platform training, within a very short period of time. So forced upon us, but actually it's given us time to reflect on the material that we're delivering and make sure that that's fit for purpose. So that's loads of companies are going to be doing those small changes in order to support what is needed over the next 12 months with coronavirus going on.
Lovely. I think that's a lovely way of summing up. So I want to can everybody who's watching now, can you just give us some likes and loves for Andy, please? He's given us his time. He's given us more than I said he would. We've done longer than we were meant to, Andy, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for giving us your time, and thank you for the insight. Really important. And I think I've asked this for everybody. I think it's worth us having this conversation again in a few weeks' time. When we understand what's happening, when we understand, well, maybe a few months, I don't know, whenever we understand, maybe a picture what's happening, we can talk again and see how that move away from the office is continued for you guys.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and happy to join you in a couple of months' time and let you know what's going on.
Lovely. Thank you, Andy. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, Christian. Bye. Bye.
Bye.